there is a backlash happening in the US against all of this horror show, this unprecedented horror show that we've been witnessing. This, everyone's having nightmares, seeing just the most horrible images they've ever seen in their lives. Donald Trump came into office promising an end to this. He really did. He went to Michigan promising Muslims and Arabs that he would end this slaughter. He also promised an end to the Ukraine proxy war, and he's obviously not delivering. And as I said, Jeffrey Epstein has become symbolic of all the betrayals. Now Donald Trump is seeing a 54-point drop in support from the youth. Trump's approval trends among ages 18 to 29. This is an interactive poll. In early February, 55% approval from young people, 18 to 29. That's unusual for a Republican. Historically, the Democrats usually commanded the youth, but Donald Trump had managed to channel their support. Just a few months later in July, only 28% approval, 72% disapproval, a 54-point negative swing. I think Gaza is a very important factor there. It's a very important factor on the right. It's a very important factor on the left. But the biggest swing has obviously been on the right. The biggest swing is among the most visible figure in QAnon, Jake Angeli Chansley. Remember the QAnon shaman from January 6th? Oh yeah, and F Israel and F Donald Trump. This is the guy who was like laying down his life, who went to jail in a riot motivated by the belief that the election had been stolen by Donald Trump, who is going to jail the supposed pedophile elite. Now he's not only calling out Trump, he's calling out Israel. So Trump has even lost a QAnon shaman. We saw what happened at TPUSA, Turning Point USA, the astroturfed youth group of Charlie Kirk, who his entire career, starting from the time when he was basically a conservative child actor, I've never known him to hold a real job, was funded by pro-Israel billionaires, by Zionist billionaires. And we saw a debate take place at TPUSA over Israel for the first time. We saw Tucker Carlson but accuse Jeffrey Epstein of having been a Mossad agent, leading to threats and recriminations from Israeli officials, threats against Charlie Kirk himself. And now his organization seems to be in some kind of chaos, which is why he announced on behalf of donors. I mean, he openly said, I'm doing this for donors as well as our own supporters. And who are those donors? Focus groups with conservative student leaders who are being groomed by TPUSA. And he's talking to them about their views on Israel, because this has become a huge crisis for him personally and for his organization. It's a crisis because he cannot square the contradiction between the conservative or right-wing youth base and the donors who have paid the bills for his organizations. And it's just a very weird MK Ultra type scene where you can see him trying to guide his the next generation of conservative youth, where he's sort of supposed to be the senior elder and the bridge between the donors and the doers. He behaves in a very strange way.
Does that resonate with you?
Oh yeah, exactly.
You're not anti-Israel. You don't wish them harm. You're not, like cheering on Iran.
No, I support Israel. I think they're our ally. I want them.
He's like guiding them, like telling them what they're supposed to think, while allowing them to have some criticism. It actually reminds me of going to seminars headed by liberal Zionist groups where they were dealing with this same phenomenon among progressive Jews in cities like New York 10, 15 years ago. This is the same thing that happened with Jews is now happening within the conservative movement.
You would be called an anti-Semite by some people for saying this.
And I think that's ridiculous. I don't hate Jews because I think a nation should defend themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the most ridiculous thing ever.
I feel like it's becoming like the word racism. Like, we just disagree with them, so we just have to call them a name. I don't think they're actually anti-Semitic. I think people just can't agree with them and they can't prove them wrong. So they just throw a word out and be like, you're anti-Semitic because you think that we should stop seeing our money there.
Something that I see amongst the people I'm around, I do see more like general disdain towards, I mean, just being honest, Jewish people.
That's correct.
Just because they're constantly being told that you hate Jews. And it's like, fine, if you're going to say I hate Jews over and over and over again, like if I'm going to be convicted of the crime, I might as well do the crime. I fear the same thing happens with all the talk of race. The more we talk about it, the more we bring it up, the more racism actually happens.
All right, this is a strange reaction from Charlie Kirk. Very strange.
This is like, I try to tell, thank you for saying this. Like, because like, I try to tell these people and they're like, we must get more aggressive. And so like, let me ask a question. If we were to,
he said, I try to tell these people, who's he talking about? And I've seen him mocked for trying to like emulate Tucker's mannerisms, but you have to read between the lines. He's saying, I try to tell them, he's talking about his donors, ultra-Zionist donors, the ones who sent him to Israel. And he's trying to basically, he's admitting that he is counseling them on how to suppress the rage among youth about what Israel is doing, because it's now affecting white youth. It's the whites are starting to get a little bit angry about what's happening.
Like if people said what Tucker said is anti-Semitic, I don't hold that view, but it's like a lot of people on Twitter are like calling us out and like, whatever, that's not going to happen. But
he mentions Tucker while he's sort of acting like Tucker.
If we were to cancel Tucker, would anti-Semitism increase or decrease?
I think increase, because that means any supporter of Tucker Carlson's statement therefore makes them anti-Semites.
Association, 100%.
Exactly.
But the binary that's presented is that if you don't passionately talk about it, you are a hater. That's probably destructive for everybody involved. So for me, I'm trying to find this new path, which is, I love Israel. I visited there. My wife and I had the best experiences ever. I saw where Jesus rose from the dead and he walked on water. But also,
You could actually see that without Israel being there. But anyway,
American, and I represent a generation that can't afford anything, and that we are like flooded with illegals and no one speaks English and our hospitals are clogged. I think we need to have the prudence to reject the Jew hate. Like, okay, we're not gonna put up with that. That's dumb. But also, if you call everyone an anti-Semite, if they don't take a puritanical view of the Netanyahu government, then I think it's bad for everybody.
So would you guys all basically safe to say welcome us not talking about Israel nearly as much?
So basically what's happening here is that there are pro-Israel groups and donors who are monitoring these youth and analyzing them. They're basically under surveillance here, and they're trying to come up with new messaging for the AstroTurf Con Inc. wing. It looks like Charlie Kirk is sitting next to sort of the manager who has been appointed by the donors. And they're asking them, would you agree to just talk less about this? If we told Zionist elements to stop calling you all anti-Semites, would you agree to just tone it down a little bit? And would you agree to attack anti-Semitism in exchange for not being branded anti-Semites? They're trying to come up with new messaging. They're trying to come up with new maneuvers. They're trying to do everything except something material to actually stop the killing and stop the apartheid and stop the occupation. And they're mainly trying to prevent an exodus from the Con Inc. AstroTurf wing to more radical elements within the right. I don't think these youth will go left. Some of them might go left, but I think for cultural reasons, they're just not going to go left. But you can see the crisis that this is causing on the right. And the left is Israel has completely lost the left. And when I say the left, I don't just mean the kind of professional activist elements or the traditional radical left. I'm talking about, increasingly like the progressive managerial class, like more like the yuppie progressives who are getting more and more aware of what's happening in Palestine and also see it as the moral cause of our time. I was in New York earlier this week. I got out of Penn Station, walked there was, I guess there was like a Wu-Tang concert in Madison Square Garden. Walked past the t-shirt guys selling t-shirts of Ghostface Killer. It was a real like throwback to the 90s. And then I saw the future straight ahead. I saw this giant procession going up 7th Ave. Was it 7th Ave or 6th Ave? Of Palestinian flags and signs protesting the genocide. I didn't even know this march had been taking place, and they had marched from Union Square. They were marching uptown to 42nd Street. So I joined them. And I mean, I'll show you what it looked like. You know, I talked to some of the more veteran activists and organizers, and what they said is, you know, we're noticing a lot more normies showing up, a lot more people who are just like day-to-day workers out here who weren't from our activist circles are showing up, and they're disgusted with the starvation. They're disgusted with the famine. It was a very large march. And I mean, think about it. This is 650 days into the genocide, and people are still coming out. Some new people are joining these ranks. And while marching with them around Midtown New York, I would see people come out of their offices, people wearing their work clothes, to give thumbs up, to clap for them, to cheer for them. Cars were honking their horns to a chorus of Free, Free Palestine. Vendors were cheering. The only people on the street who were upset by this display were members of Beitar, who came and tried to antagonize and terrorize the march, and they were completely outnumbered. So something is happening on the left, something is happening on the right. The only thing that's holding it off is the lack of democracy in this country, just the complete lack of democracy, which has resulted in only 18 Democrats signing on to a resolution condemning Israel's policy of starvation.